So today I want to tell you a little story about an experience I had earlier this year. Now, in the early part of the year, I I had a cough. I developed a cough, and well, there was nothing strange about developing a cough. It's something that comes once in a while. But then I I realized that since last year, which was 2023, I I was beginning to have these very stubborn coughs. They started out very dry and very chesty, and they lasted for longer than usual. Now, usually for me, I would expect a cough to last maybe about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. But then I was having this cough that would last for about 2 months, and I would find myself using um, two antibiotics. So I'll start with one, and then it would be of little effect, and then I'll have to use another one, which would kind of be effective, but then the cough will still linger before finally vanishing. So earlier this year, I had one of those coughs, and there was a particular night when I was awoken by this cough, and my wife got up and told me, "I think you need to go to the hospital to have this cough checked out. I don't like the way it sounds." Now, my wife is a medical doctor, and when the medical doctor tells you you need to go to the hospital, and they're uncomfortable with something, you have to take it seriously. So I said, okay, we agreed that we were going to go into the hospital the next day. And so I went to the hospital to see a consultant to complain about this cough I was having that was very chesty, irritating. And at that point, I think the cough was in its fifth week or so. And it was something that was really disturbing because when I got into that coughing, it could be very it could linger for a long time. And I explained this to the doctor, and he checked my chest. He told me my chest was clear, and but then he asked me to go and do other tests, a sputum test, a blood test, and he asked me to also do a test for tuberculosis. And I remember him saying, just to rule it out, go and do this test for tuberculosis. And it was a very nice doctor, probably the nicest doctor I've ever met in my life, been treated by in my life. He was a very nice doctor. A lot of times when I go into the hospital, there might be a slight detachment from the doctor, so the doctor seems kind of tired, and there isn't a great connection, but they do their job anyway. But then with this man, I actually felt a a connection. I felt like he was someone that actually cared about me, and someone that saw me as a person before seeing me as a patient. But that's discussion for another day. He really inspired me to to take my work seriously, and how taking your work seriously can have a long lasting impact on the people you serve. So that stuck with me. But then that's not where I'm going. He asked me to go do these tests. So I went and did the test, and I I was told to come back about 2, 3 days later for the results. Now, when I was going back for the results, I went with my wife. She was available to go to the hospital with me, so we went together, and we went to the tuberculosis clinic, and it's called the Dot Clinic, and we went to get the result. So I told them, okay, I had given a sample some days before, and I wanted to get the result of my test. And so the young woman asked for my name and asked us to sit outside, and we sat down. And just a few minutes later, she came out, with a worried look on her face. I said, "Where's your face mask?" And I said, "I didn't come with a face mask." So, you need to get a face mask. You need to get a face mask. And at this point, we kind of he could guess that the results were not good. And she said, "So you are Aditola Alabi?" I said yes. And I can't even remember whether she threw the result or just put the result down for me to go and get. And this was pretty shocking. And this is where I need to talk about people that work in the clinic and about some level of stigmatization. Um, I didn't expect that reaction from somebody, a health worker that was working in a place where they tested for tuberculosis. No matter what the outcome is, her outcome was very, very stigmatizing, in my opinion. It was. But then they're like, "Oh, go, 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 go." And she retreated back to her office. And my wife looked at it. I didn't really understand what the form was saying, but my wife looked at it, and I said, what's the result?" And my wife said, "It's saying positive for tuberculosis." And at that point, I I felt some fear in my heart, and I said, "Oh, tuberculosis, tuberculosis. Where's that coming from?" You understand? I didn't get that. I like tuberculosis. And my wife said, "That doesn't seem right." And my wife was trying to talk to the lady, but the lady who had already closed up and said, "Just go and see the doctor, go and see the doctor. They will tell you what to do." So my wife said, "All right, let's go see the doctor." So I went into the car and I got a face mask that I had in the car, that had been in the car for a while. All that time of COVID, I had an extra face mask that was just stashed in the car. So I put it on, and my mind um, was just in a twirl. I was trying to get my mind to settle around this information. Where could I have gotten tuberculosis from? And how many people have I infected? So I started thinking of my wife, my kids. Have I given it to any of them? Because this has been like 5 weeks, and I've been having this stubborn cough for about a year now. Who could I have transmitted this thing to? And I was kind of worried. But then, in the midst of that worry, I kind of felt, okay, tuberculosis is not a death sentence. It has a cure and a treatment. So I thought, okay, all right, maybe I just need to go through this thing. Maybe it's just a trial that God is putting me through, and I just need to learn something from it. And I remember feeling the same way when I had chicken pox. And I said, "Why do I have chicken pox?" But then I realized that period of having chicken pox was was a time of retreat for me. This was about 2 or 3 years ago. And I got to connect with myself just by being secluded. And I was saying, okay, maybe this is just another time to go into seclusion and retreating and getting God to talk to me. So I started to accept it and just say, that's what God wants, then that's what God wants. If God wants me to go through this, it's not a death sentence, there's treatment for it. And I asked my wife, is there treatment? Say, yeah, there's treatment, but let's go and see the doctor. So we went to see the doctor, but it wasn't the doctor I had seen earlier. It was another doctor. And we got to see this doctor, and he brought up my records and he checked all my other tests, the blood test, the sputum test, and I think I'd done an x-ray test then. Oh no, I'd not done an x-ray test then. And he said, all this is clear. All the tests you have here is clear. And then he asked for the result of the TB test. And he looked at it and said, "Oh, I can see that it's saying you're positive for tuberculosis." And he said, "We need to start treating this right now. We need to start treating this right now. If we start treating it early, we can be on top of it and, get to overcome it. So we need to start treating this very early." And he said, "So we'll just put you on some drugs, some antibiotics." And then my wife stepped in. My wife said, "Sir, can we hold on that? I don't want you to give him that." And then she introduced herself to him as a doctor too. And he said, "Why?" And she said something. She said, "I know the result says tuberculosis, but the symptoms do not align." And she said he doesn't have this classic symptoms of anybody that has tuberculosis. Apart from the coughing that has persisted for over 3 weeks, nothing else aligns. And it's at that point that I started thinking, okay, what are the symptoms of tuberculosis? And then, she said, number one, he doesn't feel tired or exhausted. You understand? He's still very active. He doesn't feel tired or exhausted during the day. He doesn't get easily tired. Said number two, his temperature is normal. Doesn't have high temperature. His temperature is normal. We checked his temperature this morning. Even when it came, temperature is normal. He says night sweat. He doesn't sweat at night. No night sweat. No night sweat. He doesn't sweat at night. He said he hasn't shown any loss of appetite. I was eating normally. And she said he doesn't have any weight loss. There's no weight loss. There's been no drastic weight loss, no weight loss at all. You understand? And that's when it started to dawn on me. I'm like, I never even checked what the symptoms of tuberculosis was. But then my wife said, I don't think you should put him on these antibiotics. And at that point in time, I was like, I don't think we should play with this thing. If they've given the result, let's just take this thing so that we don't delay any further. But my wife said, don't give him that antibiotic. I don't think we should take it yet. I think he should do some more tests. And the doctor said something. He said, well, the people working in this clinic, the tuberculosis clinic, they do a very thorough job. And if it's here, then, it's either you're questioning their job, which you've been doing for a while. But then if you decide right now that you want to do further test, then we can do it, or we could just start immediately and get on this medication. Now, I'll have you know that those medications, the antibiotics they were going to give me, was going to be for a period of about 6 months. 6 months, I was going to be taking these antibiotics. So it wasn't going to be like a 2-week, 3-week, 7-day antibiotics. A long-term antibiotics. And you know what antibiotics can do to your body in terms of, you don't want to build some kind of resistance to them. So you have to take them seriously. And so what that means is that you cannot afford to miss a day. So my wife told me, look, if you go on these antibiotics, if you miss a day, even in your 5th month, you would have to start again. Can you be that diligent towards taking these drugs? And these are not just small drugs, not just one drug they're going to give you. You understand? It's a cocktail. Can you take this? Do you want your body to really take this if you're not really sure you have this? Do you want to put these drugs in your body? And for anyone that knows my wife, she is very skeptical about taking pharmaceutical drugs, you understand? Because she says for every pharmaceutical drug, there are most times a side effect. So it's curing something, but then you must be careful how you consume these drugs, because drugs always have a side effect. And a lot of us, we don't read those little leaflets in there. They tell you, as it's curing something, be careful of some other things that it could be causing. So the body wasn't made for what we see as modern day pharmaceutical, and that's why she believes in a lot of natural medicine and things like that. But then she was like, are you sure you want to bombard your body with this thing for about 6 months? And I said, well, you are the doctor, I'll trust what you tell us to do. So the doctor said, okay, if you want to do the test, go ahead and do the test. So he said, okay, we should go and do the test and come back with some results. And then he asked that we do some bacteria test and also a chest x-ray. And then we should go to another clinic and do the TB test again. So here we were. And that day, as I said, I was already accepting of this fact that the experts say I have tuberculosis. I accept that God can see me through it. That was my disposition. So I had a peace based on acceptance. But my wife, on the other hand, was thinking the diagnosis doesn't align with the reality. It doesn't. So she was very doubtful of whether the diagnosis was right. So she doubted the expert. And so, we went home talking, and I was thinking, I need to draw back from the kids and just limit till we get this result. So it was an awkward number of days. Like 3 days before we got result, and by the time we got the result for the second TB test done in another clinic, it said negative for tuberculosis. And by the time we got the bacteria test, it said there was zero bacteria, absolutely none. I got no reaction to the bacteria test, no reaction whatsoever. That means there was no bacteria in my body. So if there's no bacteria in the body, you cannot have TB. They did the chest x-ray, my chest was absolutely clear. And then at this point, we went back to the doctor and said, see the results we have. And the doctor said, everything shows that there's no TB. There's no tuberculosis. And so there was an error. The experts had dropped the ball somewhere. It was either their test was not done right, or somebody else has my test and I got their test result. Someone else has my result. That means there might be someone out there who really has TB and they've told that the person is negative. Something went wrong. And it was a great relief. Great relief for me. But then it kind of tells you how the experts can get it wrong. I'm reading a book right now. It's a pretty interesting book. It's called Wrong. Wrong by David H. Friedman. David Friedman. It says why experts keep failing us and how to know when not to trust them. So he highlights the experts we might have. It says scientists, finance wizards, doctors, relationship gurus, celebrity CEOs, high-powered consultants, health officials, and more. These are the people we see as experts in this world that we live in today. We have so many experts giving their expert opinion. But this book tells us that a lot of times, experts' opinion are not as deeply researched and thought through as we would think. So a lot of times they come up short. And this was one personal experience I had where the experts were going to alter my life for a period of 6 months on a wrong result. And then what we really found out was what I had was allergies. Not tuberculosis, but allergies. Allergies to cold, allergies to a particular weather, you understand? That's what I had, allergies. And that's why the cough was persistent. What I needed to do was to find out the allergies and fight against them. So I needed to watch where I was in terms of cold environments and things like that and dusty environments. What I had was allergies. Reaction to allergies, not tuberculosis. I didn't need antibiotics. I definitely didn't need to be put on antibiotics, strong antibiotics for 6 months. And the reason I'm sharing this story or this experience I have with you today is because for some of us, we've trusted the experts, in quotes, for way too long. We've trusted the experts for way too long. And what I mean by this is, I'm not even talking about health experts here, but I'm talking about life experts, society experts, lifestyle experts, economic experts. We've trusted them and we've altered our lives in ways that we shouldn't. A lot of us have become so accepting of what the experts are saying, just like I was accepting, and just say, oh, maybe this is God's will, what this expert is saying. We have not been able to distinguish between the expert's voice and the master's voice. So some of us have been accepting of God's will when it's not really God's will. And I feel a strong case in point is when it regards the economy. You see, we know that There is increase in the price of products out there today, and a lot of people are taking a financial hit. And because of that, you see, you wake up every morning and then you see some experts tell you about the doom and gloom that is imminent. Talks about how people are going to lose their jobs, people are going to die, people will not be able to afford this, and there's always a lot of doom and gloom. At the point in time, I stopped even checking my WhatsApp status, especially for some people that were notorious about always sharing online expert opinion about the effect of the rising dollar against the naira, the value of the dollar against the naira. Some people were just experts every single day telling you the dollar is this amount to a naira today, is this amount to a naira today. And you see them write stuff like, oh, we are in trouble, we are doomed, Nigeria is going nowhere, we are going to die, you better leave this country. They say it with such authority that you think they are giving expert opinion about where things are going in your life. And some of us have just become, we've geared up for impact. Expert opinion about relationships, about how men today are a particular way, and what the statistics is saying about men, and how you can't trust men, and how they're so terrible, so dangerous, so aggressive, so abusive, so manipulative. Expert opinion. There are no good men out there anymore. Expert opinion with statistics. Expert opinion about women. How you can't trust them anymore. When you have a kid with your wife, you better go and do a DNA test. Because statistics by the experts say a certain percentage of women have children that are not their husbands. So don't trust them. Don't trust them. Expert opinion. Expert opinion about parenting and children, telling you how much in danger your children are, and how they are likely to pick up bad values, and how the future is so bleak for them. Expert opinion. You listen to podcasts. It's unfortunate for me. I don't even know. I have mixed feelings about it every time I put out my podcast, because I realize that podcasting is one of the biggest problems we have in the world today, where you have podcasts and people come as experts and say all manner of things. The person that came last week will come and contradict the person that is on the seat today, and the person that is coming next week will say something else different that contradicts both the experts. And I'm like, what am I meant to think? What am I meant to do? Nutrition experts tell you what you should be eating, what you shouldn't be eating, what you've been eating. They all of a sudden tell you, oh, you shouldn't be eating it, it's bad for you, it causes this, carcinogenic, all those things. We can't stay listening to the experts. And that's why I maintain that the relationship with the master is the most important one. Let the master give you wisdom. I am so glad that I went to the hospital that day with my wife. That was the first sign of the master's unconscious or subconscious wisdom. Because I don't know why I asked my wife to go with me that day. I don't know why she went with me, because the day I went to do the test, she wasn't there. But the day I went to get the results, for some reason, she was free. And I said, let's go together. And we went together. We don't usually go together. Because remember, it was a cough. It wasn't meant to be something so serious. But then she went with me. And I'm glad, because if I'd gone alone, I would have listened to that expert. The consultant expert that told me we need to put you on these drugs right now. I would have taken those drugs. I would have, for a wrong result. We must work with the master. He must lead our conscious and subconscious decisions every single day. I'm glad my wife was led by the master to tell the consultant that, no, I don't think we should put him on this. She could have kept quiet and said, He's doing his job, let him do his job. Since the clinic has said this doctor is saying we should do this. Who am I to challenge both the clinic and the doctor? But the master gave her confidence and courage to speak up. And she said, no, let's go back and do another test. I know what the experts are saying, but then the reality doesn't match the diagnosis. And this is where I'm going. A lot of you are living in fear, not because of your reality, but because of the expert diagnosis. Especially in an economy like Nigeria. And you might not even be in Nigeria listening to this. You might be in another country listening to this. And every day you wake up with heart palpitations because you put on the news, you go to social media, and the experts are telling you how things would work out for you or not work out for you. How the future is dire and bleak. How you should gear up for impact. And you're living under pressure because of what the experts say. What I want you to do is forget their diagnosis or take their diagnosis. But then, above that, look at your reality. Yes, the economy is bad. But can you afford food? Yes, people might lose their jobs. Have you lost yours? Yes, people will go hungry. Have you gone hungry? Since, the economy started to slide, have you? Yes, you might not be able to afford some things, but have you been able to replace them with substitute things? Has your life really worsened? Reality, has it really worsened? Yes, some things they say align with your life. Yes, you've had to spend more money. Yes, you have to budget better. Yes, you have to cut out some things. Just like some things in my life aligned with the diagnosis for tuberculosis. I was actually coughing, chesty coughs. Yes, that aligned. Was it more than 3 weeks? Yes, that aligned. But was I coughing off blood? Not for one day. Was it zapping my energy? No. Was my fever? Did I have a fever? No. Was I losing weight? No. Did I lose appetite? No. There was more that didn't align than what aligned. But a lot of times we pitch a tent in those things, those few things that align, and we make it our reality. And so we live sad, fearful lives and just admit that, God, maybe this is what you want me to go through. Maybe you're trying to build some kind of character. But God is telling you, no, this is not for you. I want you to live free and happy and audaciously and courageously. Don't be so quick to accept what the experts say. The experts get it wrong a lot. They get it wrong during elections, during their projections. They get it wrong a lot. The experts most times come bearing bad news. And they bear bad news because bad news sells. Bad news gets views. Controversy sells. Gets hits. We must be careful how we allow these things into our lives and prioritize the master's voice over the voice of experts. The master's voice. The master's voice. The master is telling you, look at your reality. Stop worrying about the future that the experts do not really know about. They are guessing. They have no idea what the future is. I used to watch football. I don't watch it anymore. But then I used to watch it. And it was always amazing how at the beginning of the season, the so-called experts would tell you which club would win. Before a match, they tell you who would win this, who will win the Champions League, who will win the EPL. A lot of times they don't know. They really don't know. They don't know who's going to win a match. They don't know by how many goals they're going to win. And you have silly boys going out placing bets based on expert opinion, destroying their lives. But then, my message for you today is listen for the Master's voice. Listen for the Master's voice. The Bible says, my sheep know my voice, they hear my voice, and they obey my voice. Because there is a thief out there who also calls out to the sheep. If you do not know the Master's voice, you will heed to the voice of the thief who wants to steal your joy and steal your peace and steal your courage and steal your health. There are so many people that have made rash decisions based on expert opinion. And this is where I want to talk about this jackpot mentality. Jackpot means, in Nigeria, where you have people leave the country to become immigrants in other countries. I believe there's a place for that for some people who have heard the Master's voice to tell them to leave. But some people have left based on expert opinion. Expert opinion. And they've taken antibiotics that they cannot afford to skip a day. So they move to a country, alter their lives, and here they're put on a very strict regimen that affects the flow and the freedom of their lives. All because someone said things are terrible in Nigeria and people didn't bother to check whether it applied to them. So you have people with incredibly good jobs quit their jobs. People with homes of their own and cars of their own sell their home, sell their car. Jackba. And you're like, are you really the ones that this thing was meant for? As I said, some people will have to leave and their lives would get better. But some people are already on to the best lives they are going to have in Nigeria. And they truncate that because an expert said there is no hope for Nigeria. So they sell all their blessings, all their inheritance to settle for nothing. Settle for hard labor. Settle for a life where you cannot afford to drop the ball or rest for one day. Settle for lesser jobs, smaller houses, lesser time with their spouses and their kids. Settle for lesser time to spend time with God. Settle for a life of loneliness. Settle. Because you refuse to listen to the Master's voice. And that's what I'm trying to tell you about in this podcast. That's what I'm trying to discuss in this podcast with you. Have a relationship with God. I can't say this enough. Have a relationship with God. Ask God. God is real. He might not talk to you by you hearing his voice audibly, but he will talk to you through your subconscious decisions. You will make the right decisions. You will be in the right company. You will take the right people along. He will stop you from taking those things that they are not meant to take. Look, talking to God doesn't mean you don't need to hear God's voice audibly. Sometimes you do, but sometimes what you hear is what you read. Sometimes what you hear is what you think. Your thoughts, that's God talking to you. Sometimes what you hear from God is how you feel. Sometimes what you hear is how you react. That's God talking to you, leading you into what you should do that is good for you. But have a relationship with the Master. Have a relationship with the Master. Don't let experts lead your life. Don't let machines lead your life. Google doesn't have the answers. I cannot tell you how many times I've had something. Oh, I have pain in my chest. Google will tell you you're having a heart attack. I have pain in this part of my body. Google will tell you it's likely you have cancer. Google always tells you what's wrong for you. You have a sore throat. Oh, you might have throat cancer. Stop asking ChatGPT. ChatGPT doesn't have the answers. It curates answers from people that people have put out there, from experts, and gives it to you. Open your Bible and read. Read. True answers are there. The opinion that truly matters is there. That which gives you peace is there. I'm not trying to preach. I'm just telling you what works. What really works in times like this. Try it out and see. Give the master a try. My name is Tola T.A. Alabi, and you've been listening to my podcast, ProUp Masterclass.